Hello, this is Heather Donahoe with the Kittson Soil and Water Conservation District. In an effort to stay connected, we are going to be producing a series of videos. Today's lesson is a flower lesson for anyone who wants to learn, but specifically targeted towards youngsters. So, we are also going to be doing a flower dissection later in the video. First, we want to ask you, what is a flower? A flower is the reproductive structure of the plant. It is comprised of a stamen, a pistil, the petals, and the sepal. So the petals are what we commonly think of when we think of a flower. They are usually bright colored, and that is to attract pollinators to the flower. They also provide a place for pollinators to rest or stand whenever they collect nectar. The next thing to talk about are the sepals down here below. Those are specialized leaves that are designed to protect the flower before it blooms. Whenever a flower is a bud, that's when the sepals are up around the petals. But then when the flower is ready to bloom, they crack open and fall away, and out comes the petals and the rest of the flower structure. So the stamen is the male reproductive structure of the plant. It's comprised of the filament and the anther. The anther produces pollen. The filament supports the anther. The female reproductive structure of the plant is called the pistil. It's comprised of the stigma, the style, and the ovary. The stigma is the sticky bulb at the top of the pistil. Whenever the pollen goes from the anther to the stigma, it gets stuck on that sticky bulb at the top. And whenever the pollen is stuck there, it produces a pollen tube that travels down the style and into the ovary, where it fertilizes the ovule and produces a gamete. A gamete is a viable offspring. In the case of a plant, it's a seed. That seed, once it has been fertilized, starts to develop inside the ovary. And in response, the ovary tissues begin to swell. They do this to protect the seed inside. That swollen tissue is what we call fruit. So the flower is responsible for producing both seeds and fruit that we eat. Farmtown Floral was gracious enough to donate flowers to us for this lesson. This is a carnation. As you can see, here are its beautiful pink petals, and it has a delicate light fragrance that attracts pollinators as well. Underneath the petals, we have the sepal. These sepals are what protect the flower. So now we're going to take this beautiful flower and we're going to tear it apart. Alright, so I'm just going to start. You can do this at home if you have a flower to work on. I'm just going to use my fingernails because they really are quite delicate. So you can see I made an incision with my finger, and I'm just going to peel it off slowly like it's a coat. As I'm doing that, the petals are just falling out. Here's the sepal. So, here are all the petals. So you can see they just want to fall away. So, we can pluck these off. Loves me, loves me not, loves me, loves me not. Alright, so now there are no sepals and there are no petals. We are left with the male and female reproductive structures. Here's the stamen. You can see it just barely, it's very small. This is the anther where the pollen is produced, and here's the filament. Alright, so now we're going to remove all of those as well. Now we are left with the pistil. So the pistil is comprised of the stigma, the style, and the ovary. So here is our stigma and style. And here's our ovary. And this again is where the seed is produced. All right, so for this I'm going to use a pair of scissors, and I'm just going to cut this in half so we see what's inside of this ovary. Okay. So inside of here, you can see the ovules that have not been fertilized. They're all hanging out there in a cluster. We need flowers to be able to produce the crops that we utilize for clothing, medicines, and foods. So flowers are really important to us on a daily basis. We think of them as pretty ornamentation, but they have a job to do, and it's really important. So, if you want to continue this lesson at home, here is a worksheet, and I will put a link to that. And then I will also have a dissection worksheet for you to work on as well. Please let me know if there is anything you'd like to learn more about flowers. You can reach me at heather.donahoe@mn.nacdnet.net. Thank you very much.